Well,
It's bork.
Meow,
Actually, it sounds more like Swedish Chef, really, doesn't it? Like,
yes, this is a little bit of that.
Welcome back to 2MoreTakes. This is going to be a weird one.
Yeah. Well, we may have some regrets after putting this one on the list, but I mean, I still enjoy it. I enjoyed watching it.
We watched it together. I think that was the best way to do it. If this had been like a separate watching, I think I wouldn't have gotten through the film.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome back to our we're on part 2 of our Goldblum trio, actually. But
yes,
summer blockbusters.
We could have done any Goldblum film, and we chose this one by complete accident. Yeah. Also, my name is Jack.
My name is Joe. Welcome back to 2MoreTakes.
I forgot to actually do the proper intro. This has been it's already been like a minute and a half, and this is a disaster.
We're just warming up, right?
Yeah.
So last time we spoke about Jurassic Park. Great film. Featured the Goldblum, as I mentioned. And the next film we're going to talk about also features Jeff Goldblum, and the film we're going to talk about in a week or two is also Jeff Goldblum in that. So just a little bit of a Jeff Goldblum trio that we've got going on. Yeah. But he's just in a bunch of blockbuster films. Some blockbusters. We're still going with it.
Yeah. We even had an idea initially to have every film in the summer blockbuster season to be a Goldblum film.
Yeah.
And then Joe advised me against that because he rightfully said that'd be too much Goldblum.
I
think that's perfect perspective.
I love a bit of Goldblum, but you can have too much. Only 3 films with the Goldblum, and then we'll move on to actual not Goldblums. So we decided to watch a film that we remembered from our childhoods.
Yeah, we were both sort of nostalgic about it in memory. We as you said, we both remembered it. It was something that we both quite familiar with. Yeah. I think when we were kids, less so when we grew up, because I did not remember a lot of this.
And hence the noises we made at the beginning. Today we're talking about Cats and Dogs, the 2001 film.
That I think that everyone remembers but doesn't remember. It's like one of those films that like it's like a cartoon from your childhood. You remember like the icon of it, like maybe you might remember like visually like a character design, but you don't remember anything else about it. I think this one, I did remember specific images in there, but anything else about it, like certain scenes I did, but like the plot, it's gone.
To be fair, no, I remembered some of it, but on rewatching as we went through, I'm like, oh yeah, this bit, that bit, you know how it is. We just start remembering things. But I did remember a fair bit from before. But again, it was kind of, we watched it together, and I actually found it quite entertaining.
Well, we both found it entertaining. I think that isn't in question, contrastingly with us. Like, I think, we both found it entertaining, but again, I think that was only because we were watching it together and sort of joking about it.
I mean, there are some sections of the film that I do like, but there are some. It's very. I think, as we said when we were watching it, it's a very kid-friendly film and makes no sense whatsoever. The CGI, you got some interesting dog and cat animation. No, they use actual dogs and cats for a lot of it, but
that's good. Yeah,
they use CGI for the faces sometimes, to make it look like they're talking. Some of it not too bad. Some of it questionable.
I think a lot of it looks like that Photoshop filter or whatever that they put on like that Truth or Dare film, where it's like we'll just like use Photoshop to contort and warp the face.
Yeah.
So that we can get a certain expression out of it. And because it's a dog, obviously, it's not built to emote with its eyes or mouth. That said, dogs usually have a fairly, positive expression in their eyes. And if they're well trained, like sort of, film dogs or whatever, they don't like look at the camera or the camera crew or anything. Obviously they do what they're trained to do. In this film, though, I mean, what the fuck happens sometimes with some of those eyebrows? As you said, some of it looks okay, but some of those like eyebrows and eyeballs, like those eyes extend out of the skull.
Which I think it's very much. It's meant to be a kids' film. It's meant to be silly. It's meant to be entertaining, and it's not meant to be believable.
I can okay. I need to address that. Like you said, you've made a good point. Is that obviously it's not like for a kid this wouldn't bother them. It didn't bother me when I was a kid because I didn't really notice it. It was like okay, it's like okay, kids film. You know, sometimes like the cats or whatever are entirely CGI and they're like flying through windows and going and stuff like that. And it's like you're laughing and you're enjoying it because you're a kid. That being said, this film is for really young kids, I think. It's definitely like I put it this way: if I was a parent and I was watching this, I'd be like, "Why'd I have kids? Why'd I fucking do that?"
Although it is a parental guidance rated film as well.
Well, that's because there's tons of stuff that's really weird in there as well. It's not kid friendly.
Yeah, some of it's a bit weird.
It's not. I do want to make the case that I'm not like saying the entire film is like this relic from a bygone era, and that it's like, oh, you should devalue the whole thing. It's like I'm just trying to get out of the way that like this was weird to watch. Is all I mean. Like it's not. So far, my thoughts on it, like just from obviously what we've sort of evaluated in the podcast so far in this episode. I've not said whether I disliked or liked this film because I'm not entirely sure if I know.
I know that I still liked it, but it is it's like I remember loving it as a kid, whereas rewatching it now, I'm like, no, it's still a fun film. There's still bits of it I really like, but then there's sections where it's like, that's a little odd, and that's just
I completely agree. I think in terms of how I saw this as a kid and then how I see it now, I'm completely in line with you there. With like, I agree.
I still like it.
I don't know. I don't think it's like a bad film. It's just it's a peculiar one, is all, and I think that there are bad things in it. But yeah, I mean, I do want to just briefly go back and address the point though that this is a kids' film.
Yeah. And I think
obviously, so what I meant by like, okay, this would be fine for a young kid or whatever because they wouldn't care. That being said. Like, just I think quite often when you look at, like, film criticism nowadays, or, like, just discourse over modern-day films, like, say, like, Disney films or something, or any sort of films that are, like, built for children or families, you know, like the, your typical PG, or, like, just, what is it, like, U or something, or E for everyone, but... Like, there are tons of films that are within those categories that are still, like, I feel like it's the Die Hard argument where it's like, okay, it's not something the film isn't smart, but you can have films that are a simple thing, like, for like children or something, and still have like neatly constructed sort of plots and characters and are entertaining for not just one demographic, for the whole demographic. And I think it's perfect this has come after Jurassic Park really for that, because we just got off of talking about how that kind of appeals to everyone. Obviously, that film is not something you should show to small children.
However,
knowing you, Joe, you probably saw it when you were a small child.
But also, it's still the same. Jurassic Park is also rated PG. Obviously, it's down to parental guidance of whether you probably shouldn't show Jurassic Park to a 4-year-old, maybe, or a younger.
I'll show it to my kids. My kids need to harden.
Yeah, although
they need to become like grizzled war veterans is what they need to become. Sorry, I just saw on the. Apparently, there's a Cats and Dogs 3 as well.
Oh God.
It came out last year, apparently, but it's funny because the link to it doesn't open an image, so I'm tempted to just think this is just clickbait.
Maybe it hasn't actually come out.
But then why would it say 2020? I don't know. I'm trying to give this some flavour because it's by no means a bland film, but I do think that. I don't know. I think the argument that it's a kids' film, therefore it's excused from a lot of these criticisms. But I don't know whether I agree, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like a non-valid criticism, because although you have what I mentioned is that there are other films within these categories of like family films which still have like good rewatch value. You can watch them as like an adult from being a kid. And it's like they haven't even aged a day or something. Or like, for adults watching it with their kids, there are films that can give them entertainment along with their children. But I do. Obviously, I can also understand that obviously there's the argument of suspension of disbelief and entertainment over sort of thinking things through.
Well, that's what,
which I can understand with this film.
Yeah, I think they would. It's not the fact that it's an excuse. I think it's just when the people who made this film, basically they're not trying to make a Jurassic Park. They're not making like one of the best films ever. They know they're making something just for entertainment value, mostly for kids. Make it like a standard quality film. It's not bad, but they're not trying to make anything special, particularly.
No, well, I'm not saying like that. That every film should aim to be Jurassic Park. I don't even think Jurassic Park's that special. I'm joking, of course. I'm joking, Joe. Don't kill me. What I mean is that, like, yeah, I'm not using. In fact, that was an example that I wanted to. I don't even know. I think it was one of us brought it up, but that was just because we'd recently done it, and it obviously. I think I brought it up because I was talking about the appealing to everyone thing, but that was more an example of like, okay, this is what a film can do when it appeals to everyone. But obviously, I also said that that's for a higher age bracket. But I in terms of the quality of filming, like filmmaking, like I'm not saying you need like a Steven Spielberg film to be like your ideal kids film, but I do think that I don't know. I feel like for me, I don't want to label something with like genre wise and say, oh, this is like a statement to stamp out criticism of this certain element. I think that the criticism can be valid. I think obviously sometimes it can fall into the nitpicky sort of side of things, but when it comes to kids films, obviously you dampen your expectations a little, but there are some that raise them, not just from watching them and them being good. I'm not trying to say like every kids film needs to be like a classic. I mean, most films should sort of aim to be a really good film, even if they stop short of that, or even if they fall well behind that. Even then, you get like good bad films. Like none of those good, like Tommy Wiseau thought he was making the best film ever, and in a way he did, and he put the passion in there, and it didn't work out the way he wanted, but it has brought tons and tons of entertainment to everyone, and it has become the archetypal sort of The Room. That's the worst movie ever, or like it's like that. That's a bad movie. Everyone knows it. That's the Jurassic Park of bad movies, is what that is. You put that on the poster. That's my review of The Room. It's a Jurassic Park of bad movies. But I'm not saying that like everyone should. Everyone needs to be these great like directors I look up to. I just think like. I can understand what you mean by saying like this film is it's like it's not trying to be something grand, and I do it's very small scale. Like it's got quite a small plot really. Like as we discussed, it's like it's quite sort of plug and play, but I don't really mind that because it's like what's a kids film? You don't want something too extravagant, too sort of like complicated. But I do think that we shouldn't close ourselves to the possibility of I don't know, in terms of maintaining standards. I think that even if say there's this element of like a science fiction film or like a horror film that's sort of a bit weird for other genres, and say well it's a horror film or a science fiction film, that doesn't. I think it's used in kids films because it's a bit simpler most of the time. But I don't know. In my opinion, I don't know whether or not I can say. I understand the sort of the position. I by no means want to like sort of slander anyone who takes the position that it's a kids film. But I don't know. I don't know whether I sit in the same sort of stall or whatever when it comes to that. I think that a film should always strive to be really good, even if it can't fully achieve that, or even if it is something that traditionally is simpler. God, we've turned this talk about cats and dogs into a debate about like what criticism is.
Yeah,
this is gonna be our thesis, dude, on cats and dogs.
But yeah, it is an interesting thing to look at because also I was going to say earlier that this is it's the only film that we're talking about that's particularly a kids film. Obviously, Jurassic Park is for like everyone, and then there are maybe one or two others that are for a wide audience, but Cats and Dogs is
Gladiator is, of course, what I would show to my 4-year-old.
Yeah, maybe not, but Cats and Dogs is the one which is like, yeah, this is put it on for the kids, but also, and family could enjoy it as together, but less.
I also think it'd be one of those movies that's like a great watch it with your friends drunk.
Yeah, like it's
not on the same scale as like those other bad films. It's not a bad film. I just think it's like
it's one you can
weird,
laugh.
Though.
It is because what it does do well still is because it's meant to be just a goofy, silly, entertaining. Mostly kids film, but also just there are I'm sure there are a few jokes in there that are they always do in kids films. There's always a couple of jokes that are more aimed at the older audience. So I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I can think of one which is incredibly. It made me uncomfortable during our viewing. That's when the female dog gives the main character dog a belly rub, and it's kind of treated like allegorically, metaphorically, it's kind of treated like it's the femme fatale character giving the main character a handy.
Yep,
is what it's treated like.
Yeah, there's some sexual tension between those doggos, and
also the Alec Baldwin dog.
Yeah.
They treat it like it's like they've got the Casablanca backstory or something.
He's got PTSD from
He's got dog PTSD.
His owners abandoned him or whatever.
Yeah.
It's still a fun film. And again, as I said, I started off with talking about how Goldblum's in it. The cast is actually pretty up there. Obviously, none of them, I don't think, are doing, they're not memorable performances, per se. But the cast itself is pretty good. You got Alec Baldwin as, head dog. You got Tobey Maguire playing the main character.
Yeah, who no one knows, of course.
It's around the same time as we discovered of the first Spider-Man film as well. So
it's the year before.
And then
even in the Humans, you have obviously Goldblum, and then you have Elizabeth Perkins, who's been in all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, there's recognisable faces in there. There's recognisable voices in there, and it's fun film. And obviously, I just love it for the Goldblum. Anyway,
Oh yeah, no, we need to talk about Goldblum in this film, in depth. I think the two things that really saved the viewing experience for me, again, not because it's a really bad film, but it's just okay, it was a bit bland at times, and I definitely didn't I didn't really like the main kid. I thought he was kind of
he's kind of the most boring character in the film.
Yeah, that's by no means it's not like a Jake Lloyd situation or whatever. But he's quite he's got the moment when the cat first talks to the family and the mum's screaming and he's awesome. It's it's that's cool. That's a neat bit of characterization that the kid's not scared by it.
Yeah, he has a couple of cool scenes, but he's not focused on terribly much other than his relationship with the main character dog either. So,
well, Tobey Maguire as well. He's okay, but I think it's a serviceable performance. I think there are some lines he delivers really well. There are other lines where I think I don't know. I feel like when he was in the sound booth or whatever, he was just told for every single line, "Toby, remember you're a dog. Be excited." And then so he's ha, 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 and he's panting and stuff. I feel like that's just he's got the Spider-Man from the new Avengers films energy, where he's oh yeah, Mr. Stark, or
he's I want to be a secret agent. Yeah,
which is actually kind of funny. But I mentioned Spider-Man obviously because and he's really excited about the secret agent stuff, like you say. Yeah.
Oh right. He's got that.
But yeah, we've got all-star cast though, as you said.
There's
Alec Baldwin,
several names in there as well as
Alec Baldwin, Joe Pantoliano.
Names are hard. Yeah.
His name's hard, but he's from The Matrix, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you have Michael Clark Duncan, who you recognise from The Green Mile.
Mm-hmm. But there was also one that we will point out, not a well-known actor. I'm not anyone I've heard of, but the guy who actually voices the main villain, Cat.
Yes.
Actually, is probably one of the better performances in there as well.
He's my other favourite character from the film. Yeah. Him and Goldblum really saved the film for me. For the just keeping it alive in the viewing experience. Because Goldblum is in full Goldblum mode in this film.
Yeah, he's just being Again, as I said, do you think he gets typecast as a mad scientist? Because he's a mad scientist in everything. He's kooky because he's in Independence Day, Jurassic Park, this, The Fly. He's always just this scientist guy who's just a bit weird, but you just want to love him because he's Goldblum.
And as well, like, again, incidentally, that's lined up, apart from obviously The Fly, all of the Goldblum films we're doing in a row have him featured as a scientist.
Yeah. So plenty of Goldblum to go around.
Yeah.
But
I wish there was more of him in this film, though. He's like he's doing some weird shit in this. Like, you remember when he kissed the dog?
He kisses
like, on
the dog.
mouth?
He licks the dog's
nose,
and then he's like he gets the thing to like breathe in the dog's fur with like an oxygen mask.
It was really funny ad-libbing with this film. With you, that was funny when we were just watching it and we're doing him. Anytime he came on screen, it was just like, okay, something magical's about to happen.
Yeah.
And I suppose the same also goes for the cat character, where obviously the sort of, I guess the side plot or whatever for the beginning, for the most of the film, where he's in the mansion and he's the pet of this rich guy, and the maid lady, and she's like Mr. Tinkles, and she's dressing him up in outfits and giving him like a bath and stuff. And all his minion cats are like laughing at him from under the table. It's funny because obviously he's a white cat, and it feels like it's a piss take of like the guy you would hold the white cat in a James Bond film, like your Blofeld or something.
Because
it feels like he's a piss take of that.
He sits on because I use the guy in his wheelchair later on, and he sits on his lap as they go around the factory and all of that.
Yeah,
and
some of those lines are quite funny as well. Like the line delivery from the cats is quite funny in a lot of the film.
Yeah,
especially the white cat.
Yeah, I love almost every scene with Mr. Tinkles. They're just silly but funny and. Yeah, and the way he just insults everyone, basically. Humans, cats, dogs alike.
Yeah, he's joyfully evil as well. When he fires all of the employees, he's having such fun. It's so great.
You're all fired. That's right, fired. Go home. You have no one to blame but yourselves.
Yeah, it's great. But those two characters are. They're really funny.
Yeah.
And then the other characters I was a bit bored by, but I think that's just because as a kid you wouldn't be, because they're like cute dogs and stuff like that. I think the only reason I'm bored, I was a bit bored by it, was just because of some of the performances felt a bit muted every now and again.
Yeah, like like
the eyebrows and the CGI was something that drew me back in, which was the CGI has definitely in some places aged fine, in other places aged terribly. Yeah. And when it comes to the cats, I think some of the scenes when it's darker, which we do need to talk about, we need to talk about the scene, the sequence. But in that one, I remember the cats looked okay because even though obviously they're flopping around and being like wiggly and stuff, I remember the actual texturing looking fine because of the dark lighting. Like it's like Jurassic Park, keeping it dark so that it looks good.
But no, I mean, I was going to say that there's a lot of. You can tell when they switch between, especially for, say, Mr. Tinkles, they switch between the real cat and the CGI cat a lot, and you can notice that quite clearly. Because obviously it's like they've broken him at times, because that's not how a cat moves, and that's not how a cat... It's very difficult to believe, even if it looks okay.
Joe, I'm sorry... I'm listening, but I couldn't get over the fact I just compared the CGI in this film to Jurassic.
I mean, it's
Jurassic Park.
I mean, it only came out 8 years after Jurassic Park, so.
Oh yeah, I keep getting it's 93, not 97. I think it's there's a film on the list that keeps I keep switching from 93. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. But yeah, no, you're right. The main cat, the white one. I don't know how they managed to do that with the white texture. I think it's just because of the movement. Yeah. I think because all the times he's CGI, he tends to be moving.
Yeah, it's
and he's against like dark backgrounds. Because remember when he first does it, he's on that black table.
Yeah.
I I think that's why it. Yeah, I don't know how they got it to work normal, like for the rest of the time, but it's great. I think it looks still pretty good. Like,
and
today.
I mean, you can't get an actual cat or an actual dog to do things that they want to do in this film. So CGI is
the cats more so than the dogs. They get the dogs to do a lot of stuff. To be fair,
but
they certainly couldn't get those mice to do anything.
But so, also, just for anyone who doesn't know, the main premise is cats and dogs, but it's cats versus dogs, basically. And, dogs have like a secret spy organization where they're watching over everything and trying to keep the cats in check, and the cats just want to kill the dogs, basically, and overthrow mankind and all that.
Well, actually, I have a different interpretation, Joe, and that is that's the general synopsis. What you're given is okay. This is the plot that they're outlining for us.
Yeah.
I think that the cat... I'm traditionally a dog person. I like dogs and cats, but I own a dog. I know you own a cat.
Mm-hmm.
So this is perfect for us because we got both. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm dog man, you're cat man. but I like both. But I actually side with the cats, like hypothetically in this, because the cats they're an underclass. The dogs. Well, the cats had a rough history where they were ruling over the humans or whatever. That said, again, this is an interesting point. We're told this history by the dogs who want to kill all the cats and have done a previous cat genocide against them in ancient Egypt.
Yep. No, it's very.
All I'm saying is that the cats, as well, their organization, they don't have one. The cats are like a ragtag bunch of like freedom fighters trying to like get their position back in society, and the dogs are like it's. I'm just saying. I think it's a commentary on the Middle East. Is all I'm saying, Joe.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is definitely because it's very biased towards the dogs. The dog is the main character. The dogs are the ones that are on the human side. And there's that does make sense from like the angle of like, okay, well, dogs, man's best friend,
dogs like relish attention and stuff like that, and man best friend obviously they're saying cats obviously like humans, but they kind of cats kind of rule over humans in real life. Like okay, it's like human, feed me, now pet me, human. Whereas dogs are sort of like, could you throw the ball, please throw the ball.
Yeah,
I'll get the ball for you.
So
it's more of a submissive thing.
It does use that, but it also, again, it takes it to the next level of, the dogs have a whole organisation to keep the cats in check and basically just be discriminatory towards cats the entire time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, we're just missing like a few like no cats allowed signs, and we're fully there at like racial allegory. Yikes.
Yeah, and then
and speaking of race,
I was going to say. So there's a couple of scenes. They have a lot of stereotypes.
What a segue!
Some of these scenes haven't aged too well. Like there's a scene that I really love with the Russian blue that is actually it's still silly. It's still stereotype, but it's still fun. But
it's more stereotype than racist, though, that one.
Yeah, it's just a Russian... Because it's a Russian blue cat, and he has a Russian voice, and he's...
And it fits with the spy theme as well.
Yeah, and he like whips out a whole bulletproof vest out of his bloody furballs, and they have a whole fight scene, and it's silly, but fun. Goldblum does him in by opening a door and slamming him in his face.
Yeah. So good. So good.
But then there's I believe it's the next one, or is it? There's another scene.
The one before. The first attempt was where they bug the phone lines and they invade the house.
So, Ninja Cat. They might have. I mean, again, some of it is like passable. There are some fun, like when they're just being goofy, it's fine. It's when they're going full on Asian stereotype, and they come down from their planes, and they're like Banzai. That's a bit questionable.
This film is so racist.
That scene is
it's like but it doesn't ruin the rest of the film for us, I don't think. No, but I can totally understand someone watching that scene. They've put like stereotypical like like samurai or
it's
ninja
like gong
music in the background of it.
And...
It's dang 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 dang. It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like the music that Jim Kirk fights the Gorn to in Star Trek. But
yeah,
I didn't bring up the other one, so like, this is my subversion.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's full, like, it's not just the music though. It's the lines, them,
the voices
yelling banzai as they jump, as they go down, and then the voices is probably that, and then while they're fighting, them going like making Bruce Lee noises, which is for a kid was funny.
Yeah,
because I didn't know what it's like. It's like in the abstract. It's a funny noise the cat's making, but the connotations now I'm older is okay. Fucking yikes!
Yeah.
And then they're still playing the music over the fight and that.
No, I think
the voices alone are just so like.
Well, here's the thing: if they toned it back a bit, like remove some of the lines, the accent on. I think it's really only one cat that had, because the other cat I think sounds a little bit more normal, especially when they're whispering. I can remember.
I think they sound the same, Joe.
I think they are similar, but they sound. I think
they're the same actor.
They sound okay at times. But then it's where, especially because I just remember when they're like bugging the phone, and they actually sound okay, but they're just being sneaky cats. But then it's when they're like full on like banzai and like whoa, and it's like all the noises and stuff, and it's like if they toned it way back, because some of it is still just them being silly, and some of it is like very racist stereotype. It's I'm saying it's not all unbearable, but most of that scene is
okay. Yeah,
because there are still
both the Ninja Cats. So one of the Ninja Cats is Billy West.
Yeah,
I think he's actually from Futurama.
Yeah,
and shows like that. Danny Mann is the second one. There's no picture for Danny Mann, so I can only assume that because Billy West is well, as far as I could tell, he's fucking white, Joe.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is a different time. We have to acknowledge that it's a different time. But yeah, if this film was made today, you'd tone down some of that stuff, and then you'd actually get like Asian actors to voice these people, so that it sounds authentic at least.
Yeah, and I mean,
obviously, the reason that they I think I've just looked up that the breed is not even Japanese. It's Devon Rex, which is from England. So. It might be common in Japan or something, but it's yikes. That's what it is. Unfortunately,
again, there are scenes like that are you wouldn't get nowadays. Someone would have said something.
Yeah, rightfully, I think we can leave that part of the film to die. Yeah, we've addressed the racist elephant in the room, or racist cat in the room, but
and I mean,
what do we do now? Like, where do we go?
I don't know. I mean, and then, as I said, I prefer there's like the scene with the Russian blue, which is more, it's also a reference to, again, they got the whole spy thing going on, rather than going like just full ninja stereotype. The Russian blue is more of, that's like the counter assassin sort of James Bond sort of thing, where he's,
I can see the ninjas as a stereotype also, because there's been, as well, some of the more racist James Bond films have had ninjas in them as well, but I mean, ninjas are stealthy, so they're inherently, I can inherently see them being semantic with spies and spy stuff.
Well, and that's the whole thing of, they are trying to fit, it's all just stereotypes of high tech. Like the cover of the film is all the cats and dogs in like high tech gear, and like there is elements of that in the film, but not as much as the cover.
Although the cats actually don't wear any of that shit in the film, it's the dogs that do that.
The dogs, I think the dogs have the more high tech stuff.
Mr. Tinkles has a camera, or like I think it's a green laser on his head. Oh god, he's got a green laser pointer on his head.
No, he doesn't have any.
No wonder he commands all the cats.
The cats just have night vision goggles that the ninjas do, and then
got safe cracking equipment and knives and stuff.
Like bulletproof vests and stuff. And it's like, because the Russian blue has the whole vest with knives on and stuff.
It could have, it could have been worse with the Russian blue one, because it could have been like he vomits up that entire, like that Russian, like Russian Soviet like juggernaut suit with that helmet. You know, the one that's like in PUBG or whatever.
Whips out a minigun.
Yeah, but no,
he's just knives and he uses his hairballs as weapons.
Yeah, he's actually eaten a like a little like ball with that he opens, and there's a dog poo in it.
Dog poo.
Me and Joe theorized about what the situation before this was.
Yeah.
Like, okay, did Mr. Tinkles go, okay, now you're going to eat the dog poo. You're going to put it in your mouth. And he's like, do I have to eat the dog poo?
But no, I do actually quite like the fact that he says, he's like, I'm only getting paid half price to do this job. Usually Mr. Tinkles is like uptight little. He's like complaining about the guy and he's getting paid, and he's like,
I'm only getting paid half.
Yeah.
We see the cats are so like like underclassed that he's having to take a pay cut just to. So take a pay cut just to be hired for the mission. There's the puppet that was actually quite good in the the surveillance station thing with the Joe Pantaleono.
He has that secret little bin that comes up, and he's got this whole high tech thing, which is kind of cool. Even it's like, they put a lot of effort into making that look really cool. And the puppet of him on the little computer looks pretty good most of the time. Because I don't think you don't see that particular dog outside of the his computer very often. You do see it.
See him, I think, near the beginning where they introduce the characters, and then at the end, I think. But for the most part, he's just
on the computer, so they've got a puppet for him there, and a couple other things. Yeah. And because I know they use the cat puppets for different things, where they pop up behind like desks and stuff as well. Again, there's the line, I don't know why, the one line I always remembered from the film is the one where they go to the soccer game and a cat pops up and just says no room for you and throws tear gas in the car.
This is a cardboard cutout of like a ticket booth guy.
And then Goldblum's like, oh, hi there, how much for... And he's like, yeah. And he's like, Goldblum pauses and looks at it, the cardboard cutout, and is like, why are you not talking? It's like the humans.
I love how every human in this world is like really stupid, and it's like they do have the intelligence of a Metal Gear Solid guard, where it's like you just have like a cardboard cutout of like a human, and they immediately think it's another person. It's like it's whenever the cats drive as well. That's fantastic. That's a really funny like sort of. Because they're obviously doing like stunt work with the car, and I don't know. It's like as the kid in me is laughing at that point.
No, I still love
this. This is fantastic,
especially because when they roll up at the factory, and he's like, "Get out of the way! Get out the road, you lunatic!" it's like, can you learn how to drive? I'm on a phone.
Brakes, gas. And that cat, the henchman cat, looks really weird. He's got like those weird eyes, and
I think he's meant to look a bit goofy. There's like a lot of characters that are just meant to look goofy, like that one and the ninjas.
I just mean like that cat in general. Like it's just there's something about his eyes. I think just because it's the real cat. It's just really unfortunate, but it's very distinct look and very unique. But he looks like he's gone through like some like a. Like he's had Botox or something, like cat Botox.
So there's a lot. They actually do pull off a lot of little stunt works then, and practical stuff as well to mix in with the CGI. And boy, did they wreck that house a couple times as well.
That's fun. Like all the mess they make is really fun. Like even at the end with the mess they make in the factory they fucking. Like all the fireworks and that, and just for the CGI effect, the way they blow it up is fantastic. Yeah. It's not even blown up; it just expands and just like cracks open.
But and then you have the whole bit, as we mentioned earlier, where Goldblum and the cat kind of face off, and he's like, "No, bad talking cat." And I believe you said it's like Goldblum knows what sort of film he's in, because he's just he's being goofy Goldblum, but he's like. No, bad talking cat. Don't let's go. You know.
What it feels like at that moment, like, okay, the two best characters in the film have met up now and are talking. This feels like it should have been like in any other film where your favorite, you know, like they feel like the protagonists in a way. Like the dogs don't feel like the protagonists to me. The kid doesn't feel like that cat and his struggle against, like, you know, for his own sake and by extension his people. Obviously, he's got more selfish motivations, but you know, he's kind of a figurehead for the cats. And then you have Jeff Goldblum, who's this wacky inventor who's trying to, you know, like do, you know, good for humanity and, you know, cure, like, you know, like pet allergies and stuff. It's like, I don't know, in a normal film, you'd imagine it as like some sort of like King, like, you know, like the Godzilla versus King Kong film, something that came out recently. You imagine it's like Alien versus Predator. These two characters meet and they're going to fight or something. That's what I was thinking. Oh my god. Obviously, this is like I didn't seriously think this. It's like, okay, I was like, oh my god, I wish this happened. Is what I felt. I wish that it would just, like, you know, for my own fantasy right now, it would just go completely off. Like reality would rewrite itself, and it might be a Mandela effect, right? I'd forgotten the actual end of the movie, and really, what had happened is Jeff Goldblum and Mr. Tinkles got into like a Dragon Ball Z fight or something.
And I know we've actually managed to drag this conversation out quite long already.
I think that's because we've gone to so many different places.
Yeah.
This has been a wild one. Not just the film, but like the...
may have to have some questionable content in our own discussion.
I guess we should finish with like final thoughts then.
Yeah.
Because there's not really anything else to talk about with regards to the film. I think we've actually covered all of our talking points.
There's not, again, it's not terribly much. There's stuff you can talk about, but it's not as critically... interesting as other films,
or like memorable or something.
But I'm just gonna say I even on rewatching I enjoyed most of it. There are a lot of scenes, especially early on with the dogs and the setup of stuff, which is, you know, not terribly interesting, but it's still kind of cool and it's amusing even as an adult. I've got some nostalgia for it as well, but there are still some very amusing scenes, and for the Goldblum, it's worth it. But it's not a film I'd recommend necessarily, but it's just it's a film. It is fun though.
Well, I wasn't miserable while watching this.
Well, that's
it's like trying to escape like the sort of nostalgic element, because I do feel that for this film similarly, but trying to sort of, you know, from you know, who I am now, and obviously taking into consideration how much it, obviously without the nostalgia, but taking into consideration how effective it was for me when I was a child, I do obviously have to take that into account when sort of, I guess, critically discussing this. It's not a bad film at all. I think my sort of weirdness and distaste of it has come from more of the fact that, like, it's definitely aged.
Yeah.
It's aged gracefully in some areas, and then in other areas, it's aged racistly.
Yeah, but then again, there's been a sequel or two, as we've been looking, to this film that they're not good. Whereas at least this one, we
haven't seen the third one, I don't think.
No, but there's Cats and Dogs 2, Revenge of Kitty Galore. I saw that. We've
both seen.
Yeah, I saw that one, and it's not good. This one, at
even
least,
as a kid, even as like a teenager, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
But this one still holds up a little bit. It's it's still entertaining.
Yeah, for going like the cat racism, whether that is the stereotype or just the genocide that's going on between them and the dogs. I mean, I would, it's a perfectly fine kids film. It's entertaining. As I said, I wasn't miserable while watching this film. It was. I wouldn't say that it was like the most fun thing in the world, but it was. I mean, again, it's like I think I would recommend it for that specific kind of, like, okay, if you are you got a family, got some kids or something, and you want to show them like a film with like some cute cats and some cute dogs in them, and they're doing some cool stuff, by all means, watch Cats and Dogs. It's perfect for that. Or alternatively, you could be like us and be grown-ass men who watch it in their 20s, and preferably you do it drunk with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And you probably have an even better time watching this. and sort of, like jiving with it and ad-libbing. But it's going to be way more entertaining than fucking like your average like bad Netflix film or something. I guess, I don't know. I don't know if I'd rate this above Tall Girl, to be fair. That was such a good experience. Like,
I mean,
I think I laughed more in Tall Girl than I did this, but there's some good laughs in here.
Well, yeah,
I don't know why I'm comparing it to Tall Girl, Joe. To be quite honest, I think my brain's just turning to mush at this point.
But no,
this conversation has been so deadening to my brain.
It's been strange. Like the film, it's been weird, goofy, still fun, but questionable. I still say cats, dogs for people that are. It's very much aimed at just if you like cats and dogs and you like silly.
Yeah.
If you like a silly video of a cat and dog, this is like an hour and a half of silly videos of cats and dogs, really.
Yeah,
just with
I can
higher
agree
quality.
With that, yeah.
But yeah, cats and dogs.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like I feel like we're different people now. You know. I certainly feel like a different person after having to have fucking like rewatched and talk critically about cats and dogs.
It wasn't my first suggestion, but
it wasn't your suggestion. I think it was my suggestion,
but
initially.
I like.
But first of all, I'm glad we did it. This has been really like fun and interesting, and the film itself was still fun to watch. Yeah, I guess. I'm going to give it, like, a 4.5 out of 10.
I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
I wouldn't give it the full 5 because, just because I think it's more like a technical thing, like that and the cat racism, sort of hold it back a little bit from a modern perspective, but again, it's like, the 4.5 isn't it's like, it's fine. That's me being harsh, to be fair. Like... I would recommend this to certain people. Not all people, though. Some people will not. People will not like this.
Yeah, as I said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but if it's on, might watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've been Jack.
I've been the Joe.
And this has been 2 More Takes. And this is 2 More Podcasts. On my beat bore. Nor.
Alright, I gotta turn the soundboard off now, so no more Jack for the evening. But I'll until next time, everyone.